Hey guys, welcome to this quick lesson on screen setup. So there's just a couple things I want to go over real quick because I got an email recently where someone told me that they had their safety set on green, and what that does is if you start a fight, it's going to give you a dialogue that says, "Are you sure?" And you'll have to take a time, 5 seconds, 10 seconds to click that yes button and close the dialogue. And what that's going to do is it's going to mess up your train of thought, completely interrupt what you're doing, and mess up your focus so that you're more likely to lose that fight, not to mention the time you lost now that you're having to close that window. So you don't want to go all the way to red, because if you go all the way to red, then what happens is it allows you to make mistakes and do stuff that you wouldn't want to do, like attack people in high sec. That's never good. You lose your ship. Unless you're ganking, then you would set it to red if you're doing high sec ganking. But for everything you're likely to do, yellow's the perfect setting because yellow will allow you to do all the killing in low sec that you want to do. The only thing it'll kind of stop you from is killing a pod that you don't have a limited aggression timer with. If you don't have a limited aggression timer, it'll say, "Are you sure?" Because that would cause a big sec status hit. And your security status, it's not worth giving up for a pod and taking that huge hit that's going to cost you a ton of your security stats, and you're going to have to go pay money to fix it or rat a bunch, and it's just not worth it. So the next thing that you want to do, that you want to keep up, is your local. Now this is probably the most important thing, is you want to keep your local out. You want to keep it by itself, not in with your other windows. You want to keep it by itself in a very visible spot, expanded so you can see the members list. What's over here in the chat is almost of no importance whatsoever, right? So the most important thing that you need to do is come right here to this member list settings, the little three little people thing, click that, and then show member list immediate and show compact member list, right? You don't need to see infantry. So now that you can see the compact member list, what that does is that allows you to see all these people without seeing all the pictures like you see over in this window. So it takes up less space, which means you can see more people in the given size of that window, and so you can keep better track of who's coming and going from system. You see that guy left system and he went away from local. So that's how you tell how many people are in system with you. If you ever, maybe you attack a target in an anomaly, ratting an anomaly in nullsec, and you're attacking him and you're winning and you're slowly working your way through the target, and all of a sudden you see this list drop with 5, 10, 15, 20 people, then you know immediately that there's a fleet that has just jumped into system and they're most likely warping to that guy to come save him and blob you. And he was bait, right? So by having this open, you give yourself time and better situational awareness. All right? So beyond that, there's only a few more things. Let me warp over here so I can show you this. I put my selected items on the bottom. By default, it's on the top, right? The reason that I don't like it up there is because I like to keep most of my stuff down in this bottom right corner. And you'll see if I lock something, right, that it's down here in the bottom right corner as well. Now if you wanted to move it, see this little thing here in the bottom right of the lock, the target list anchor? Now that would, by default, it's up here pressed against the top of your screen. It's kind of hard to see, but that's how you move it. You just click that and just drag that around wherever you want your targets, and that's where they'll go. A lot of people think you should take them once you've locked them and then move them, but that doesn't do it forever. That's just for that target temporarily. So what that would be like is if you're in a situation like a remote rep fleet and you wanted to move your friendlies up here and then have your enemies on the bottom or something like that, you could do that. You could have one row of friendlies, one row of enemies, make it less likely for you to engage a friendly when you meant to rep a friendly, right? So that's how you do that. You move that. But I like to have everything in one area of the screen so that my vision is focused on it, especially on a big screen. When I was on my laptop, it wasn't quite as important because the laptop screen was smaller, which meant I was actually faster in most of my fights. I could do things a lot faster because there was less hand movement and less eye movement. And I've made several videos about this in the past, but it's so important that I think it's really worth reiterating that you want to minimize eye movement, you want to minimize mouse movement. You want to focus on an area of the screen And then every occasionally, most of the time I'm focused on this area right here. So just that chunk of the screen is where I spend most of my focus. I'll sometimes look over here at directional. I'll sometimes look at local. I keep those in the side of my vision so that I can see any movement, right? So you see movement very easily like that. So I'm hitting my space bar and my scan the whole time. And so what that does is any movement over here, any movement over here, I'll catch and I'll look over at, right? Keep my modules, how you set those up is up to you. Most people will try to get them all up in the F1 keys because it makes it easier to operate with your left hand. I've gotten in the habit of doing it like this. Point's always an F2, damage is always an F1. Keep my reps usually in the bottom, cat booster in the mid. For my drone window, I like to have that over in this general area. I used to put it down here underneath the selected items window, but it seemed to clutter things up a bit. I like it more up here. It's all preference. The most important things are your safety, your local, and then if you want this underneath, it's fine. Most of the time, that's a good thing. Not always, because there will be times when you're doing a gate camp or something, or you're trying to wait for a target that's jumping through a gate, and it would be a lot faster to click, approach, or click, lock, approach real quick by doing it if it was above. So that's one case where it's a little bit better to have it above. If something's jumping through the gate and you need to get a quick lock, like say you're the interceptor on the gate, you would have it up there, and it makes it a little bit faster that way. That way you don't have that mouse movement of going up here, all the way down here, up here, all the way down here. In that case, it is a little bit better. Let me go this way to avoid this thing. So it's better in that case, but most of the time I prefer to have this selected item box down here so that I can keep my mouse in this general area and not have to run all the way up here. And it helps me. Maybe it'll help you, but definitely set this to yellow, your safety, and definitely get that local out and on its own. I still see people in PvP videos keeping it with their chats. It's a mistake. Keep it out on its own. That's part of your situational awareness.